Hollywood, 1939.
1939.
1939.
Amongst the glitch and the glamour and the glamour and the glitz.
Yeah.
I don't
and
know
the
about you,
gits.
Chloe. I'm pretty tired.
Right. I would like to point out something that obviously this is now the next episode.
Yeah, contextually, if you haven't listened to the episode before, you have no idea why we're tired.
We are recording this episode the same day because we go to Orlando. And actually when this comes out, we would have just come back from Orlando.
I'm not doing it again.
Okay. I just realised my nails match my joggers.
They really do. Hang on, put your hand up. Oh, where are your fingernails gone?
Camouflage. So you were a bit tired because we're working. We're trying to. We haven't packed yet, but we're packing.
Pretty much from the moment that we recorded this morning, we have not stopped, and now we're going again.
9 p.m. at night.
Round 2.
And we actually didn't speak about something on the podcast, which I think we should have spoken about.
What did we not talk about?
Barcelona.
Yes.
We went to Barcelona.
We did go to Barcelona.
If you're listening and not watching, I have got a Starbucks Barcelona mug. Which is why Stephen got the message. And I got it because there's a little sangria mug and a shrimp on it. That was my favourite.
That was the only reason, not the fact that
Chloe
wants to take over our entire cupboard with Starbucks
They're
mugs.
the best size mugs.
I'll be honest, I'm not against because I love the Starbucks mugs and the size and it's great.
Mm-hmm.
I get more of a cup of tea. It's wonderful. But Barcelona, what a wonderful little trip. Apart from one minor detail.
Yep.
Nationwide power cut. So we were literally we were out for lunch and then all of a sudden the lights came off and we were
thought, oh, bloody blender.
Yeah, we were like, oh,
fuse.
someone's stripped the fuse, or Brenda with the blender.
Yeah, literally.
Has stripped the fuse, and then we started walking back and it was like,
this whole street's gone.
The whole street's gone. Oh, that's weird. Now, at this point, all of our signal had gone.
Yeah.
All of our 3G and 4G had gone.
All the Wi-Fi wasn't working.
Wi-Fi wasn't working, so we had no idea that this was a nationwide power cut.
The police were really quick, to help, because obviously none of the traffic lights were working.
Yeah.
So the police were really quick to getting out there and stopping traffic and getting people to cross the road. So I thought, oh, maybe this is a normal thing to happen in Barcelona.
Yeah.
We didn't know.
Typical Barcelona.
And we asked, I think your mum asked the guy at the check-in desk at the hotel, and he was like, no, this isn't normal.
We've never had this. And then we realised it was a nationwide thing. Some streets managed to get some power back at about 6-7 o'clock. So we managed to go to an Aldi. We got together a nice little picky tea. Yeah. So we basically just made the best of the situation.
Meats and cheeses always pleases.
Exactly. And we ended up making the best of the situation. We played some games and basically just waited for the lights to come back on. They didn't come back on. We had a little bet as to when they might come back on, but there was some emergency power, so we went and go and play in the lobby. And then we went to sleep, hoping they would come back on. And about midnight, all the lights came back on. We were very happy, but also blinded because we were asleep.
Yeah, I was asleep, and it was like, the lights. And then you were like, these lights are really nice. And I thought, I ain't looking right now.
It was a nice relief. But apart from that, Barcelona, what a beautiful city.
Oh, lovely.
I thought there were so many shopping options.
Yeah, if you like to shop, Barcelona is the place to go.
It's a really, really good city. We went down Las Ramblas. We went up to the Olympic Stadium. Loads of stuff to explore.
Familiar.
And actually, a really, really nice trip for sort of 3 or 4 days. Good food, good people. Happy with the whole thing.
We went to a cool cocktail bar that had funky tiki glasses.
It was a Polynesian style, and it had lots of explicit images and questionable glasses, but they were also wonderful
and very
cocktails.
long straws.
Yeah.
Very long straws.
I think that's why when I left, I was a little bit giddy in the head.
And we went to a nice place for brunch as well on the last day. So yeah, we had a lovely time in Barcelona.
It was a nice little appetizer to our main course of Orlando, which is now,
well, here's the thing,
literally a day and a half away.
I think Mickey Mouse, our Lord and Saviour, is trying to tell me something.
Why?
Because every time I try to go to a different country, that's not Orlando, something has gone wrong.
This is very true.
Mickey Mouse is there going you don't need to go anywhere else. Stop trying to travel outside of the bubble. So I think that's what's going on.
Yeah, let's put it down to that, to be honest.
So that's why there's not going to be any issues going to Orlando, because Mickey Mouse is like, yeah, wherever you come.
Come on over, pal.
Want to try going somewhere else?
Don't.
Okay.
Yeah.
See how far you get.
How about you, Abu Dhabi, don't? Okay. So, what was the answer to last week's question?
Last week's question.
Or this morning's question.
This morning, yeah. What is the new effect they've added in to the Tower of Terror?
Drip.
Q.
Drip. Drip.
Yep. So, we saw it on this trip and didn't know it was a new effect. So I looked at it being like, oh, that's
yeah, it's a really cool
strange.
detail. We're normally quite observant when it comes to these things.
Which is why I saw it and went, I haven't seen that before. And they've got like a special effect of like a drip from the ceiling.
It's basically like a pipe is leaking and it's like a single drop, but it's just done with like light effects. Like we knew it was new because when we went with Harry, and Harry used to be a bellhop,
He was like, that is
like,
new.
no, I have not seen that before. So that is completely new. And yeah, it was a brand new effect that was added. And yeah, look out for it. But you have to go down the
I think they've got
left-hand
one
side.
both sides.
Have they actually?
I think so, yeah.
We'll go down the right-hand side and we'll see if we can spot it this time.
Yeah.
But even still, we are doing a lovely, lovely deep dive into Tower of Terror. We're going to give you loads of fun facts, the whole history, basically anything that we can muster, think about. I've gone into some of the technical aspects because, just because it's me and everything like that. So we're going to try and give you as comprehensive an overview as possible.
Yeah.
So are you happy for me to sort of take it away? And then
absolutely.
You just sit there with your lovely little cinnamon
I do know
coffee.
quite a bit about Tower of Terror from memory.
Yeah.
So
I mean, Tower of Terror for me,
I'm ready to...
apart from being, as we voted in our recent episode, the best attraction at Hollywood Studios, there's something so engaging about all the lore and everything that surrounds it.
Yeah, and just the history.
And I think that's why this is kind of a long overdue. I know that we've mentioned some things in various episodes, like the hidden magic of Hollywood Studios, but again, I've tried to go a little bit deeper this time. So I will start off with this. In the late 1980s, Disney's MGM Studios, now Hollywood Studios, was considered a half-day park. So in order for them to enhance its appeal, Disney sought to introduce a major attraction, something that would grip people beyond belief. Now, the initial ideas for
grip people, or people need to grip?
Well, a bit
that's
a bit
what
of
I'm
both.
saying.
That was my previous experience with Tower of Terror. Is honestly, I think
gripping on for your life.
Well, it was me gripping along to those little sort of handbars that you get to the side, or gripping onto your hand, and your hand basically being like bright red by the end of it. But they were originally looking at doing a murder mystery hotel based on the works of Mel Brooks, like a Hotel Mel concept. But that eventually got kind of scrapped, and they drew inspiration from Rod Sterling's The Twilight Zone.
It was also rumoured...
I wish I really had like a lightning effect there. That would have been really cool.
You can do that. No, it's not. We can put that in.
Oh, okay.
Ready? Say lightning effect.
Lightning effect.
There you go. You're welcome.
Thank you.
So I was going to say something. Oh, originally, it was also going to have a restaurant in it.
Was it?
Mm-hmm.
Where would the restaurant have gone?
In
the actual lobby on the exit?
Yes, so where the exit is.
Oh, that would have been cool.
There's quite a few things which lead people to believe it's going to be a restaurant, and a lot of people say it was going to be a restaurant originally.
I do quite like the idea of people leaving, being terrified, and actually doing that sort of similar thing that you do in like Pirates of the Caribbean in California, where you're kind of going past people. That'd be really interesting. I wonder what cuisine they would do.
It's maybe similar to Brown Derby, I reckon. Maybe Brown Derby wouldn't have been a thing.
That's very true.
Because I reckon that would have been the kind of restaurant that would have gone in there.
Would you like the Tower of Terror dining package? Now that would be exciting. Quite a fun fact when it comes to them doing research, the Imagineers doing research for this particular project. They watched all 156 episodes of The Twilight Zone in order to prepare for this.
Have you ever seen any of the Twilight Zones?
Yes, I have. I actually used to teach a couple of the stories as part of like suspense and short stories because I can't remember what it's called. Oh, it's called Examination Day. Examination Day by Henry something. Basically, it's all set in this like dystopian world, which is obviously kind of linked to what the Twilight Zone is. And it's this idea that if you're too intelligent in society, then basically you have to take an IQ test at the age of 12. If you score too highly, the government kills you.
Oh.
But it's this boy getting ready to take the test, thinks he needs to do really well in it, and the parents are so scared that he's going to do well in it, and they try and like dumb him down. But then eventually he sits the test. They get a phone call at the end, and no, he's been killed.
Oh,
yeah, proper like.
That's a dark
freaky
one. See, I saw the stage show when it was in London.
That was really cool, wasn't it?
A few years ago, I went with James, and it was interesting. It was really funny because the entire time we were sat on the balcony.
Yeah,
and kept being like, "When's the drop? Like, when does it drop?"
The whole balcony just comes down.
It was funny. But it had like a few different short stories in it, and they were really fun. So I remember one of them was like the typical thing where someone's like built a bunker and everyone's making fun of them. Then actually the end of the world's coming. Yeah. And then like they won't let anybody in.
Yeah, I think there is a real close link to this sort of like dystopian era.
There were some weird ones though that I watched and I thought, I've got no idea.
Oh, they're
what's
very,
going on
very
right
strange.
now.
Do you know what it kind of reminds
Black
me?
Mirror?
To an extent, Black Mirror, but actually more so. Did you ever watch Goosebumps as a kid?
No,
In,
it's
the sort of
too
late
scary for
90s?
me, I'm afraid.
See, there were elements of Goosebumps that made me think of Twilight Zone, which is what really engaged me.
Yeah, the stage show was good though.
I'd
I'd recommend it.
Yeah.
There's quite a few things in there. That was quite cool.
Now, the ride's narrative centres on the fictional Hollywood Tower Hotel, where on Halloween night...
Excuse me, the Hollywood Tower Hotel.
Yeah, that's what...
Full name it.
I did
Put some respect on that name.
I did say Hollywood Tower Hotel.
The Hollywood Tower Hotel.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
Put some respect on that name.
I'll put some respect on you in a minute. Right. So on Halloween night of 1939, a mysterious lightning strike causes an elevator carrying 5 guests to vanish, plunging them into the Twilight Zone.
My question, quickly.
Fire away.
The mysterious lightning. Why is it mysterious? Was it just one singular bolt that night, or was there a storm happening?
Well,
because there was no storm and suddenly lightning. That is mysterious.
I think
if there was a storm, that's not very mysterious.
But I think it's more to do with where it struck.
Yeah.
Like, lightning never strikes twice in the same place.
Exactly.
Unless you got a lightning rod, in which case you're kind of asking for it.
It hadn't striked there before. Struck there.
I love watching you do words sometimes.
Striked.
Well, who knows? It's the Twilight Zone.
Okay, so everything's mysterious. Okay.
Everything is mysterious. So the ride eventually opened on July 22nd, 1994, and it stands at 199 feet, making it one of the tallest or joint tallest things in the entirety of Walt Disney World.
199.
Now, it does kind of combine, because, you know, there might be some people listening that have never done it, and there are lots of different iterations of Tower of Terror around the world. There are 4 different versions. Now, in the Orlando one, it kind of combines a traditional dark ride alongside a drop tower as well. And
which is what I love.
Yeah, and the idea, I suppose the thing that is more unique about the Orlando experience is that you go through the 5th dimension and then you're into the Twilight Zone.
The Twilight Zone. Yeah,
the drop shaft.
Which I've got some cool stuff about that area, unless you've got some.
Which bit on the 5th dimension?
Yeah.
Oh, I was going to kind of talk through a little bit of the legend and some of the mechanics, and then we'll get into sort of like the different elements of the ride. And I was thinking we might do like a bit of a walkthrough for this particular one.
Yeah, I could do that.
Where we kind of find little things. So
we're going to start from the queue.
Well, we're going to start actually with the legend. Okay. So, the Hollywood Tower Hotel, with some respect on that name.
Hollywood, 1939.
No, so this is the overall legend. This is the sort of this is the lore that was written by Disney. Okay, built in 1917, the Hollywood Tower Hotel was an elegant destination for the showbiz elite during cinema's golden age. The Hollywood Towers soared 13 stories high, a pinnacle of luxury and modernism in their day. On the unusually stormy night of October 31st, 1939...
That's Halloween.
It is. A massive bolt of lightning struck the towers.
Mysterious lightning.
Scrawling. A mysterious bolt of lightning. Scrawling its sizzling signatures across the facade of its elevators, which vanished. Never to be seen again.
You love a bit of alliteration, don't you?
Well, actually, this is what's actually written in it. Think about it, marketing materials, more engaging.
Yeah.
Okay. In the wake of the catastrophe, the hotel was abandoned and left to crumble in the debris of history. As for the 5 unlucky guests inside the elevator that night, they were never found. Perhaps their resting place is somewhere in the hotel's ruins. Or perhaps their stay never ended. Perhaps you'll find out as you check into a room with a view of
the Twilight Zone.
I just think that's so well written as well. And I engage with rides a lot more when I do have sort of like some history, some lore, like the idea of there's like a backstory to the whole thing, rather than me just kind of going, oh, you're going to be this and work your way through this.
This is the thing I would like to apologise for if our friends James and Bryony are listening. We would have just come back from the holiday with you guys. Sorry for throwing so many facts your way and talking through all the rides.
Yeah, and if you enjoyed the facts, listen to loads of these.
Yeah, I once had someone tell me off for telling a fact on Tower of Terror.
Who told you off?
This guy sat in front of us, and I said to Jay, I think we maybe were going through the 5th dimension.
Sure.
And I was pointing out something like a cool fact, and he went, "Excuse me, that can wait until after the ride." And I was like, "Oh, okay."
I mean, what is the take on like talking during rides?
Don't get me wrong. If
'Cause I think
because
there are
I
think there are
wasn't like
certain
talking like this. I was like,
No,
oh,
no,
so
no.
if you look over there, I was whispering to
Yeah,
James.
yeah,
So, but then the amount of times I've been on Tower Terror and there's people like loudly chatting away,
yeah.
like, oh my god, I'm so scared,
Yeah,
before we
yeah.
even dropped. I'm like, it doesn't really bother me. If you're talking random stuff which has nothing to do with the ride,
Yeah.
I'd be like, you don't need to talk. But I was like,
if someone speaks through the entirety of Living with the Land, I'm like, you're practically be dead to
Yeah.
me.
I think maybe it was like the mirror in the corridor room.
Mhm.
I was pointing out that or something, and then this guy was
I
like,
mean, I get that people want to hear the sort of overall atmosphere and immerse themselves in it and all that, but again, if you're not
I
being too
wasn't
loud,
talking loudly.
then who cares?
But yeah, he did tell me off.
So let's get some technical aspects out of the way. Do you know what the speed is of the drop?
What? We're not doing a walkthrough.
Well, I'm just giving you the speed of the drop and
Speed
some
of the drop.
technical things.
Well, you're not actually dropping. You're being pulled down.
Okay.
Thank you.
What is the speed of the feeling of falling?
35.
30.
Oh,
So you weren't too far off.
it wasn't
Okay.
far off at all.
How many different drop variations are there?
4.
There are 4, and they are all varying. I did actually find a really, really good website, which I know that you used as well, and that actually tells you how to spot the different drops.
Oh no, I don't want
I
to
don't
know.
think I ever want to spoil that for myself, and I'm not going to spoil that for you guys either.
I don't know any pattern. I like to sit there and guess up or down first, and then I don't really think about where I'm going from there. I just see things, but I always know that if you get to the bottom and it shows you a certain clip on the TV, that you're going up again.
That you're going back up.
And that's my favourite.
It's great. So actually, the drop distance itself is only 130 feet. And actually, most of the drops that are considered, so actually 130 feet is the most you will drop, but most of the, you kind of have the little variations between.
Yeah.
Most of them are only like 20 to 40 feet. So it's almost like you're being thrown in the air.
I would love to see like a 3D inside of the ride and how the carts will move around.
Yeah.
I would love to see that. I can talk
about some of those
I kind of get it,
well.
like this. It's doing this, but still.
Yeah, there's a great diagram, again, on that same website.
Perfect.
Someone's basically made a website that's completely and utterly dedicated to
it's like
all
a
of
wiki
the lore.
page, but for Tower of Terror.
It's incredible. There's so much stuff. And a lot of historical images, and they actually do some interviews with some bellhops and people like that. It's really, really good. The maximum airtime that you actually get on the longest drop is 2.5 seconds, which is quite cool.
Not if you're me.
Or from door height from the ground, so the door where it obviously opens is 160 feet. Now,
Thank you for those numbers.
if you had ridden Hollywood Studios Tower of Terror, I don't know why it writes it in full sometimes, in its early years, then you might have had the shared lap bar. Did you ever do it when it was the shared lap bar? This was like early 2000s.
Yeah, I must
have. You must have.
That's probably why. Because I remember everyone's like, there wasn't a seatbelt. And I'm like,
no, there weren't individual seatbelts. It used to be
That's
lap
why I
bars.
used to fly so high. I used to fly so high.
Yeah, so the idea was...
my wings have been clipped.
Yeah, so the idea was that you had more of a personalised experience, and the restraint gave you a better sense of freedom, I suppose.
As a 3-year-old, I was being thrown around.
Now, one of the things that I did not realise, and I think obviously from a safety standpoint this makes 100% sense, is that the ride operators can see you at every single moment of that entire ride, because there are cameras everywhere.
Well, you better not be doing anything you shouldn't be, people.
So even when you're posing for the camera at the top, they're also watching you on cameras. There's a little bit of everything. And it's actually someone's job to watch a live stream of the car's passengers in a hidden monitor room at all times. So in the event of an unintended stop, a cast member will make an announcement over the PA that they can see and hear the passengers and basically just give them instructions as needed.
Huh?
So yeah, I didn't realise that though. But
I didn't
also,
either.
riders who don't connect or somehow disconnect their safety belts will cause the ride to stop, and a cast member will talk to them over the PA. Because one of the things that you can spot in a couple of instances is, and I think they do this for a lot of the rides actually, you can see this really clearly on things like Dinosaur.
Yeah.
You get the little lights either above your head that basically signify red, something's not buckled, or green, everyone's buckled in. It's the same with this. So actually, I believe if you look to the panel just to the right when you are kind of being sat in the elevator and being boarded by your bellhop, you'll be able to see all of those lights light up, which is pretty cool.
And that's very cool.
Again, you've also spoken about this, but the idea that you're not actually falling. the whole time now this was the thing that slightly confused me when I first sort of got my head around it. So when you go through the fifth dimension, you're not actually on any form of track. You're kind of free roaming, and there's basically cables underneath that are basically guiding where it is. It's kind of like the step before sort of the Wi-Fi heavy trackless rides that we see.
Wireless trackless rides.
Yeah, wireless trackless rides. The wildest track in the wilderness.
And then you get pulled into the shaft.
Yeah, but then you get pulled into the shaft, and the shafts are constant, basically.
Yeah.
So you slot into the shaft, you are not the shaft. If that makes makes a lot of sense.
Like, it's as if like you've put the baby into the pram.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
So you get locked in position, and then you go up and down, and then you come out of that shaft, and that shaft
kind of
goes
like
back up to reset for someone else.
It's like a dumbbell system. You are the dinner going to the people. Yeah, I was only going to mention that there are certain things that have to be working, and then cousin Harry was telling us that one of the last things you have to do as a cast member on that shift or in the morning is ride through the ride and note all the things that like aren't working, and then they fix them.
I think that's a little point actually with every single ride that you see. Like if it basically cast members who operate that ride have to ride it at the start of the day and at the end of the day just to make sure it's all right. Sorry, carry on.
So Harry would have to like ride Tower of Terror by himself, which I can tell you now, I've sat front row on my own when I did it with me and two other people.
Yep.
And that was scary. I didn't like it. Spooky. So go on it complete by yourself. Very scary.
Yeah, I bet.
So you have to go through, and then you have to make sure like the eye's blinking and like the clock thing is moving, and the equals MC squared. That has to be lit up and swinging and stuff, and then you note it if it isn't, and then maintenance fix it overnight.
Nice.
Which is pretty cool.
That is really cool.
There's also things like Harry told us that one time they did an evac from the room with the with the corridor. We see the ghosts.
Yeah, the shattering glass.
Yeah. So this is going to be a little bit of a magic breaker. So it's done with mirrors, how it's done to make it look like the corridor's obviously longer, and it's got like the smashing window and the ghosts and everything. But the rug has got loads of like wires and lights in it, so you can't stand on the rug. Like, you're not allowed.
Yeah.
So they had to like get people off the ride and be like, "Don't stand on the rug."
Yeah.
Keep your shoes off the rug.
A really, really interesting like evac though.
It's fun to watch.
It is actually also one of the most difficult and dangerous rides to evac, especially if you're not in one of the kind of rooms. Like if you're in the fifth dimension, fine. If you're in the the room that we've just kind of stated or anywhere else, it's actually quite easy. If you're actually in the drop sequence, it can be an incredibly difficult ride to get out of.
Yeah.
And, we don't know anyone that has been in this.
No, I think Harry had to get people off it.
But again, you could be in there for like 3 or 4 hours. Like, it's a really, really long one.
And if you are,
in that sense,
what do you ask Disney for?
A cruise.
A free cruise.
Yeah. You
That's
ask
what you ask for.
You ask for the world and you take it.
Yes.
You absolutely take it. So again, So you transition from a lift shaft to the drop elevator shaft. The fifth dimension is completely and utterly self-steering. And it's steered by its own computer. It was kind of one of the first rides that actually did that in terms of an independent system. But it is also highly, highly sensitive. So if there was anything on those tracks, it would just immediately basically do a show stop.
Yeah. It's like with the Haunted Mansion. That one does the same thing, where if there's anything on the track, it will just stop. The entire ride will just stop. So
Exactly. They are so, so sensitive. Right. I wanted to test you.
Because I could tell what you were going to do.
I think you're very, very good with this whole thing. So every single time that I have been in the pre-show room, what is it? The library.
Yep.
Every time I've been in the library, Chloe will normally recite the entirety of the speech without failure. I wanted to see how much you can remember.
Can you give me the first 3 words?
Okay. You unlock
the key.
This door
with the key of imagination.
Spot on.
Behind it.
Beyond it.
Beyond it is a dimension of sound, a dimension of sight, a dimension of mind.
You're moving
into a land of both shadow and substance, and things and ideas. You've just crossed over into the Twilight Zone.
That's very good. Can you carry on?
Hollywood, 1939. Amidst is it the glitz and the glamour?
The glitz and the glitter.
The glitz and the glitter of the bustling Hollywood hotel scene.
A bustling young movie town at the height of the golden age.
The Hollywood Tower Hotel was a star in its own right.
A beacon.
A beacon
For the show
for the business elite.
Now, something is about...
Now to change all that.
No, something is about to happen that will change all that good. Do you know what? I'm so impressed with you. This is such a selective memory.
This, as you may recognise, isn't... No.
No, the time is now.
On an evening very much like the one you just witnessed.
Tonight's story on the Twilight Zone
is somewhat unique and calls for a different kind of introduction. This, as you may recognise, is a maintenance service elevator, still in operation, waiting for you. We invite you, if you dare, to step aboard, because in tonight's episode, you are the star. And this elevator travels directly to the Twilight Zone.
Do you know what? I'm so impressed.
Really?
So impressed.
I can do it. I can do it when I'm watching it.
Apart from the slightest prompt in the world, that's like 3 paragraphs long, but she just just knows.
I know the last part the best.
And that is so, literally.
I also know the...
That is just so good.
Thanks. I will always do it. I like it when it goes, and this elevator travels directly to, and then someone goes, the gift shop. I'm going to do it next time.
That's like that's almost as irritating as people going
alcoholics in Epcot. No, I think that one is funnier. I think that one's funnier.
Let's kind of walk through pretty much the entirety of the ride then.
I said, let's walk through when you learnt that. I was like, just many years.
When did that happen? No, let's walk through it, because I think my favourite time to ride it is sort of twilight, nighttime, because I love the fact that they bring out the mist.
Do you know much about that video though, and the guy that's in it?
Yes, I was going to talk about that when we get there.
Just want to make sure.
Yeah, no. So I love the mist. Did you also
the mysterious mist? No one knows where it comes from.
No, it's the mysterious lightning bolt. Remember?
No, the mist. No one knows where it's come from. No one knows where it goes.
Exactly.
And did you
Very
know?
Confusing. Go on.
In the queue, that part, it is an uneven path.
Yeah, it's
to make you feel uneasy.
It's 2 to 4 degrees off.
Yes.
Straight.
Yeah.
Which is so what a subtle little
to make you feel a bit uneasy.
Screw.
Yeah.
Like, how on earth? I
don't know.
Yeah. The unease begins right away.
Yeah.
And then obviously let's walk into sort of the main lobby. What sort of things do we notice there?
I always like to tell people.
You like to lie through your teeth for this.
I like to start off pretty things that make sense. So I'll be like, oh, you see that suitcase over there? That was actually Walt Disney's. And they're like, wow, amazing. I'm like, yeah. And I'll be like, see that lamp? That actually was in his office. They're like, oh, no way. And I'll be like, you see that magic band touch point? That was Walt Disney's personal magic band touch point. And then they're like, oh.
You're like, how? I mean, my favourite thing is whenever you're about to be distributed to go into either of the libraries.
Yeah.
If you look at the, what is it?
It's like the floor chart.
Yeah, it's like the floor chart and everything. Like, if you look at the bottom end of it, it says take the stairs. That's a really nice little kind of subtle hint. So,
but there is lots of actual original suitcases from the 1930s in that room, made with alligator skin.
I think so. And then we've mentioned it before. A lot of the cobwebs are made actually using a particular type of glue.
And there is a newspaper, but I think it's at the exit, or it could be in the lobby, that is actually dated from that date, and it's a real newspaper.
Nice.
From that date.
That's really cool. Cool.
Fun fact.
Right. So now we kind of move into the library. We've just had a wonderful rendition of the entire script, so I don't even need to talk about that. I can also
tell you about 2 hidden Mickeys in that room.
Go on then. Where are the hidden Mickeys?
There are 2. I mean, technically there's 2. Technically there's 5. In the corners of the rug, you've got Mickey Mouse's. Harry pointed that one out to us. So technically that's 4, because there's 4 corners.
Yeah.
And then in the video, the little girl that goes into the lift is holding a Mickey Mouse doll.
She is in.
That's my favourite one, I think, in the whole of Disney. I'm like, wow.
But then we were also about to talk about Rod Sterling. Now, Rod Sterling obviously wasn't alive at the time that they needed to do the whole pre-show bit. So they basically used computers and archive footage and everything like that to basically.
And they got someone else to.
Yeah, and someone else to sort of dub over it.
Yeah, but his widow.
Yeah, his widow could not.
She
tell.
couldn't tell the difference. She was like, "That's
crazy.
Incredible!" Like, she gave it the thumbs up. She went, "That is literally sounds like him."
But I also think, like, given that was like 30 years ago, that is so clever for
that's
how
why
good that looks as
in
well.
some clips it has him. When he's in the clip, that is actually like footage of him. And the reason he's not in all the clips is because that's the part where they didn't have his voice.
Didn't have the stuff.
So very clever, very smart,
very clever. It's amazing in that sense. I'm just going to kind of start throwing fun facts everywhere because again, so there is an inspection certificate in the boiler room, which the certificate is numbered 10259, which references the original airing date of the Twilight Zone on TV, which was October 2nd in 1959. We've spoken about the Hidden Mickey, haven't we?
Mm-hmm. Oh, you got the Hotel Award, the AAA award. I can't remember what AAA stands for, but it's like an actual hotel award that you can get. And they got 13 stars.
Yes.
Yeah, which isn't actually a thing you can get, but
but 13 is considered.
But that's
unlucky.
But the plaque they've got is like the actual one from the actual company, which is really cool.
One. So there is actually a Hidden Mickey just before the drop sequence. So during the ride, when the Starfield appears, there are 3 circles forming a Hidden Mickey apparently in that. I haven't...
From the stars?
Yeah. Haven't spotted it, but I'm going to
have
a really careful look at it.
In the 5th dimension?
It might be stars in the 5th dimension, or it's when the window shatters. I'm going to have a look out, because that's one I haven't sort of spotted.
No.
Here's a really fun fact. Did you know that during construction, the Tower of Terror was actually struck by lightning?
I do know that.
What a hilarious one. Like,
that's funny.
That's, you imagine working on that day and being like, maybe we shouldn't.
Maybe we're onto something here.
Maybe we shouldn't do this.
Florida, what do you expect?
Again, when it comes to the architectural design, the building design incorporates elements of various Southern Californian landmarks to blend seamlessly with the Hollywood Boulevard. So it was obviously very in keeping in that. And we've spoken about this before in terms of the skyline and the eye line. The colour of it is exactly matched to the Morocco Pavilion, so that it basically merges into the line of sight.
I already thought about everything.
Little things like that, which I think is amazing. Another little fun fact, some of these I have mentioned before on a previous episode, but I'll go through some of them anyway. So Lindsay Ridgway, who played Sally Shrine, who's the little girl in the Twilight Zone in the 1997 live-action remake, she's the one that appears in the ride and the film. She's the only one to work across both. Oh, that's cool. Which is really, really cool. It was actually the first ever film. So the film came out in 1997, had Kirsten Dunst in it, and
the year someone else born.
I can't remember. But it was the first ever film that was inspired by a ride. Now, obviously, these days we've had
Pirates of the Caribbean,
and all these other successful ones, but that was the first one. And again, if you have a close inspection at the shelves around the room at the end, so this is when you're kind of backing up and you're about to go, there are so many little references to actually Twilight Zone episodes. Yeah. So, for example, you've got the cracked glasses from Time Enough to Last, you've got the book from To Serve a Man, and then you've also got a miniature spacesuit from The Invaders.
And everyone's favourite.
A fortune-telling machine for the Nick of Time. And then you also have Caesar.
Caesar, the doll. You'll know. You've all seen Caesar the doll. You're on that ride. Now, cast members will quite say that Caesar controls that ride, So in the morning, if they want to have a good day and they don't want any breakdowns, they'll be like, Caesar, please don't let me have any breakdowns. Or if they want to go home early that day, they're like, Caesar, please let me get an ER.
I love how there's so many little things like that, because there's one for pirates as well that they
I always say thank you. I'm like, thank you, Caesar, at the end. Great ride, thank you, Caesar. But he is scary, but I always thank him.
This is a funny little one that just made me laugh. Celebrities like Ariana Grande have publicly expressed their desire to preserve the Orlando version because they really
Have you
hated
heard her statement?
No.
She did. Right, let me try and get it up for you.
All right, you do that while I'm going to go through some of the other fun facts while we do this. Now, the Imagineers did actually collaborate with the Otis Elevator Company. Now, they have been making elevators for over 100 years, and they basically helped with the whole vertical ride system. It was something that had never been done before, but they are actually the world's largest elevator manufacturer. So they've done the elevators for the Eiffel Tower, Empire State Building, Petronas Twin Towers. If you've ever been on this ride and you've maybe taken off a hat, or you've maybe had a bag with you or anything like that, your objects will appear to hover during the free falls, and this is because you are strapped into the elevator seat and you're actually being pulled down faster than gravity. So the loose object, however, is only being pulled by gravity alone. So that's why there's that little disconnect between the two of them. Now, one thing to also bear in mind is that these elevators are incredibly safe. So each of them have about 2 to 8 metal cables that are kind of pulling them. And these are actually able to hold the weight of 132,000 pounds each.
Jeez.
So you are in very, very safe hands. And I think this is one of the most technically stringent rides in terms of safety. What were you going to say?
I've got Ariana Grande's letter
Have
to
you
Walt
found
Disney World. An open letter to Disney World Orlando.
Go on then.
I hope this finds you well. My name is Ariana Grande. I have been a frequent visitor and a great admirer of your park since I can remember. Some of my fondest adult professional memories have been collaborating on my cover of Anna Menken and David Zippel's tremendous hit Zero to Hero, and performing in front of Cinderella's castle along with a magnificent choir that you so gracefully provided. Further, some of my oldest and warmest personal memories include spotting hidden Mickeys across the park, driving up on the weekends, counting the purple signs nowhere nearly at your parks, and alas, riding the absolute masterpiece that is the Twilight Zone Tower of Terror. For the first time, I was finally tall enough. Perhaps this message has come prematurely, but I would be remiss if I did not reach out with a potential matter of grave concern. In the wake of the most recent alterations that have befallen the historic park in California, yes, I'm referring to the calamitous loss makeover of Tower of Terror ride here. I humbly implore you to not follow suit. Please allow the iconic and tremendous Tower of Terror to stand tall permanently in the name of historical preservation, spooky horror, and good old-fashioned fun. I hope that you will consider this humble plea from a passionate fan.
Yeah. Hashtag one less problem without Mission Breakout.
I was like, thank you, Ariana Grande, another thing you've done great for this world.
Yeah. Good news.
It stays. The Tower of Terror stays. Boom.
Now, one of the things that you can actually do as well.
The Twilight Zone.
Can I finish?
All of us. It stays.
Good news.
Very good. Carry on.
Now, one of the things that you can actually do whilst going through the ride is that if you choose to not look at the focus points, you can actually see a lot of the inner workings of the ride. So I'm going to kind of, next time we maybe ride it, I don't want to I'm going to be that guy that's like, oh, what's that?
What's that on the ceiling?
What's that over there?
The photo, you're just like this the entire time.
I'm just turning around. I did actually find the fact for it, by the way. So when we were talking about the lap bars when it first opened, there were, for most children, 8 inches between you and the lap bar. So that was a real source of terror because there was such a gap between them.
I'm pretty sure that's why. I remember coming off my seat so much.
Yeah, I'm not surprised.
And now you can't do that.
Yeah, I'm not surprised. It was a good thing to do. Also, cast
members, a good thing to do.
As in a good thing to like get rid of. Get the seatbelts, increase the safety.
Safety begins with me.
Safety begins with you. Absolutely. Cast members are also instructed not to smile as much as possible. So they really have to keep a serious one. I'm someone who tests that boundary a little bit. So sometimes I will be sitting there and I will try and make them laugh and try not to be serious. I do it most on Rise of the Resistance, where I'll give some sassy answers.
What was it? The last time we were there, you literally, I didn't know you were going to do it. And you just went, "What's your favourite colour?" I was like,
yeah, I really put them off, and I was like, what? They were telling me to stand on the colours. I was like, and what's your favourite colour? And they looked at me as if I was an absolute imbecile.
Shut up. And then when we were in the room for the next room where Kylo Ren is, and he's like using the Force, there was this kid that literally like dropped to the floor as if he was choking. Do you remember?
Yeah, he was
like full on method
like
acting. We were like, wow. Yeah. That was funny. You get into it. Try and make them laugh, but in a kind way. Don't be mean. Don't be mean to cast members, but just be like, what's your favourite colour? And see what they say. Because you never know. You might get a fun answer.
Exactly. If you are lucky enough to ride the ride when the lights are on for some reason, you will actually see most of the lift shafts and interior walls are made of undecorated plywood and fire-retardant grey stuff. How unsatisfying is that?
I think it's quite scary, actually.
I think it's one of those things that actually you realise, like, I remember when they were doing a lot of the refurbishments for Peter Pan's Flight, And you realise how absolutely rubbish it looks with all the lights on. And I think the same is true for most of these rides, to be honest.
I want to mention, like, the room that... Because I had the lights on when I was in the room with Madame Leota.
Mm-hmm.
And, like, you know what, all the instruments are just hanging from the ceiling?
Yeah.
That is a funny room. It's a very funny... Oh, no, I did the walkthrough. That's when I saw it. Very underwhelming. I was like, oh, okay. There's just some instruments and some string.
You're like, thank you so much. I think that's pretty much me. I mean,
Wonderful.
all I will say is that, you know, this has quite literally transformed me, because I used to be terrified of it. Now I absolutely love it. And I think that is something to be said about reframing your mind and saying, if you go into anything and say, I'm going to enjoy this, you're probably going to enjoy this. If you say to yourself, I will definitely not enjoy this and I'm going to have an awful time, you're going to have an awful time.
Yeah.
So positivity is one of my keys.
Yes.
Moving forward.
Wonderful.
But yeah, loads of stuff on Terra Terra. I just can't wait to get out there and actually ride it again.
I'm so excited.
I
And doing the glam
love
bot as well.
that
I'm so ready
ride.
to, like, glam bot
Yeah,
away.
I've had a thought on it. I don't know, like, there's part of me that wants to be super cringe and just do like an eyebrow and like a that. But I think that will look a little bit crazy. I'm kind of tempted to try and do like a little face the back and then face forward and just give like a...
Yeah, I get that.
Just give like a pout of some sort.
Yeah, I get that. I'm going to do a little hair toss.
Yeah, I mean, I tried last time to do the YMCA,
little...
but all I got is the CA.
Yeah, you did this one before.
Nobody wants like...
Yeah,
I've done a fighting one before. That was hilarious.
Strange.
I quite like that one.
Your face scared me in that one.
Even still, okay. Well, now it's time for us to actually start packing. Even though this episode comes out once we've returned, it's all a very confusing time period, to be honest.
Yeah, I literally couldn't tell you what day of the week it is.
No, I can't even tell you what next episode is.
No, I couldn't tell you either.
I think what we are doing when we do come back is we're going to do a full comprehensive guide of how we approached Epic Universe, how we found it, and we'll give you a lowdown on everything.
We'll add it to the list of future episode ideas.
What I will say is when we come to do an Epic Universe episode, there may be a level of spoilers. So if you're someone that is utterly wanting to avoid everything Epic Universe, maybe steer reasonably clear of that episode.
But we'll do spoiler alerts.
But listen to like this episode twice just to make up for the fact that you're not there.
Yeah.
The next time.
Yeah. All right. Well,
what's the question?
There's no question this week.
Why not?
Because I can't get the answers whilst we're out there. So a week off, guys.
Oh,
you can never even remember the questions.
No, I know, but the questions aren't my vibe.
Well, there's no question this week. You got a week off.
No question.
No homework
question
this week,
is,
everybody.
Are you having fun?
I am. My question for you is: are you sitting comfortably?
I am indeed.
Well, it's the end of the episode, so it's time to get up.
Yeah, now we've got to move and
pack.
Leave.
Right.
The Twilight Zone.
We'll see you next week.
See you later.
Bye.
Bye.
We can cry when it's over.